There are moments in life when silence becomes too loud. And for Donnie Swaggart, that silence had lasted for over 3 decades. The day after he walked off stage mid-sermon, the whispers at Family Worship Center turned into roars. Church staff were on edge, emails were ignored, and behind the closed doors of JSM's media offices, Frances Swaggart was livid. She'd seen Donnie lose it before, but never like this. Not live, not in front of millions, and certainly not because of Mariah. Because now, for the first time in years, Donnie had reached out to her. Sources close to Mariah say the phone call came at 2:43 a.m. Donnie, choked up, voice trembling, said just one thing: "I'm sorry, I should have fought for you." Mariah didn't cry, she just said, "I know." And then, she asked him one thing in return: "Tell the truth, before I go. I don't want fame, I want peace." In the days that followed, Donnie became a ghost. No sermons, no appearances, no family dinners. Frances, meanwhile, summoned the board. The top-tier donors were concerned. What's going on with Donnie? What is this story about a hidden wife? Why is Gabriel suddenly speaking in riddles on the youth broadcasts? Frances did what she always did. She controlled the narrative. She called it a satanic distraction. She claimed enemies of the gospel were digging up old rumors to destroy the family. But behind her words was panic. Because she knew the truth was catching up. Gabriel Swaggart, Donnie's son, now stood at a crossroads. He had received one of Mariah's letters directly, hand-delivered by a former worship leader who had kept it for years. Inside it read, "I've never asked you for anything, but if you ever wonder where your passion comes from, if you ever feel a rage you can't explain, it's because part of you is David. He was your brother, and he died without a name." Gabriel was devastated. He began pulling files, family records, financial logs. He discovered payments made to J.M. Mariah's initials going back decades, labeled as outreach compensation. He confronted Donnie privately. Donnie didn't deny it. He told Gabriel everything: how he fell in love, how he defied Frances, how the ministry threatened him, how he signed Mariah away, how he buried a child he never held. Gabriel was silent for a long time. Then he asked, "Do you regret it?" And Donnie said, "Every single day of my life." The next Sunday, Donnie Swaggart didn't preach. Instead, he stood on the stage, in a plain black suit, no Bible, no notes, and said, "I've been living a lie, not in doctrine, but in silence. And it's time you knew who I really am." What followed was the most shocking confession in Swaggart history. Donnie told the entire world, live on television, about Mariah, about the secret marriage, the pressures from his own family, the child they lost, and the guilt that never left him. "My mother wanted to protect the ministry. I wanted to protect the woman I loved. I failed her, I failed my son, and I failed you, by hiding it." Gasps filled the sanctuary. Viewers online were frozen. Tears streamed down Gabriel's face in the front row. Frances, watching from backstage, was stone cold. But Donnie wasn't finished. He turned to the camera and said, "Mariah, if you're watching, I love you. I never stopped, and I'm so sorry." That single sentence became the most shared clip on Christian Twitter and YouTube in 2025. Within hours, #Donnie Swaggart trended worldwide. The media exploded. Every Christian outlet, gossip blog, and YouTube commentator was on it. Swaggart scandal. 2 secret wife shocks church world. Donnie's love letter goes public. But while the world talked, Mariah was dying. Donnie left Baton Rouge the next morning, with no cameras, no bodyguards, just Gabriel. He drove quietly to Mariah's hospice in Georgia. When they arrived, Mariah was barely conscious. But she knew. She smiled, she whispered, "You did it." Donnie sat by her side for hours. He held her hand, he prayed with her, he cried over her. Gabriel, standing behind, saw a side of his father he'd never seen before, raw, broken, human. Mariah passed away just before sunrise. Her final words: "Tell Frances, I forgive her." At Mariah's private funeral, just 12 guests present, Donnie read a poem he'd written for her in 1982, the same one he'd given her on their wedding night. He'd kept a copy all these years. When he finished, he placed it on her casket, turned to Gabriel and said, "Now I can finally breathe." But the battle back in Baton Rouge was just beginning. Frances was furious. The confession had not just shattered the ministry's brand, it had exposed her own role as the enforcer of silence. Donors were pulling back. Board members were asking questions. Longtime supporters were confused and hurt. Some said, "How could you silence a grieving mother?" Others said, "If Frances hid this, what else has she hidden?" Behind the scenes, Frances made one final play. She called for Donnie to step down. She believed the ministry could still be saved if Gabriel took full control, distanced from his father, and rebranded the future. But Gabriel refused. In a fiery closed-to-door meeting, he told her, "If we rebuild anything, it'll be built on truth, not on shame. I won't sell lies in Jesus' name." That was the moment everything shifted. Frances Swaggart resigned from the executive board 3 days later. Publicly, she said it was for health and age-related reasons. Privately, she was heartbroken. Donnie didn't celebrate. He visited her at the house. They sat in silence for an hour. Frances finally said, "I never hated her, you know. I just didn't know how to let go of what we built." Donnie nodded. "I get it. But what we built was killing me." 1 month later, the grave of David Joel Swaggart was updated with a new headstone. Loved by his mother, named by his father, remembered by his brother. The words were chosen by Gabriel. Mariah's story was finally public. A documentary is now being made. Letters are being published. And Donnie has decided to step away from the pulpit for good, not in shame, but in peace. As for Frances, she now attends church privately, off camera, sitting in the back row. No lights, no microphone, just quiet reflection. In a recent interview with a small Christian radio host, she was asked, "Do you regret keeping Mariah a secret?" Frances paused, then said, "I regret not being strong enough to believe the truth could have survived." Now, for the first time in 40 years, the real story of the Swaggart family is no longer hidden. It's raw, it's broken, but somehow, it's finally free.